Hi, my name's Ty.
And I'm Lisa, and we're exercise specialists. We'd like to talk to you today about some terminology around your physical activity, your exercise, your physical fitness. And we'd really like to clarify what they all are. Physical activity is actually a specific umbrella term that we use for any sort of action that we do with our muscles, and we use energy for that physical activity.
A lot of times when we are speaking with patients and we say, let's find ways to increase your physical activity, exercise is the first thing that people think about. And that's not necessarily the case. It's one of 7 subgroups or smaller parts of what physical activity is.
So we can look at physical activity at work. So some people have quite physical labor jobs that require us to be physical. They also maybe require you to walk a lot, like a postal carrier.
Yeah, and if you work in an office and you sit at a desk, then typically your movement throughout the day is going to be less.
Exactly.
Another thing that we look at is travel time. So if you do work, how do you get to work? Do you drive? Do you take the bus? Do you walk? How far away do you park from your work site when you park there with your car? So you can increase steps or activity that way too.
We require a certain amount of physical activity too in our day-to-day self-care.
Yep.
So for some people, washing their hair can be quite a physical activity, just depending on their mobility and their upper body strength. So some personal care stuff is considered physical activity.
Right. And then we talked about this earlier. Who doesn't like vacuuming? There's all that stuff that you do around the house. So whether you're washing dishes, vacuuming, cleaning around the house, there's movement involved there too. Some more than others, but it's part of your day-to-day stuff.
And we do have a little bit more discretionary time in our lives these days, so we've got recreation and those pockets of time where they can be active recreation or inactive recreation. I mean, we obviously want you to do a little bit more of the active side of things, but things like video games and TV viewing can happen in our recreation time, which isn't very physical, but...
Right. And then there's getting outside, playing with your kids, or running around, kicking the ball, those kind of active sort of things.
And you can get really formalized too with your sports. If you were in a curling league or played badminton with a buddy every week, sport would be considered one of those levels of physical activity.
Yeah. And then finally we come to exercise, which is the planned, structured physical activity where you would do your exercises at home, you would go to a recreation center or a fitness facility and do them there. But it's a small part of the global picture of what physical activity is.
So we want you to think about it more in that broad spectrum of physical activity and how you're getting more movement into your day. It's not necessarily all about exercise, it's more about just moving more.